Beyond the Bank Account. I am Shara Prophet, your host. I am a behavior modification specialist certified in clinical hypnotherapy. I am the founder of the Be Magic School and creator of the Mystical Money Mastermind and the Sovereign Millionaire. And I help high earners like you stay rich and grow wealthy by helping you understand the principles of wealth, the spiritual and energetic principles of wealth. So we're going to jump right into today's topic. And before we do that, I would like for you all to please make sure that you are liking the video, leave comments, share it. If you're on Facebook, please feel free to invite your people in as you come into the room. And one moment while I make sure that I am live. Yes, I am. All right now. Uh, let's see. Okay, we're good to go. All right, y'all. So let's hop right into this. I don't want to keep you all long today. I apologize for being a few minutes late. I had to go make my tea that I did not drink this morning. I have to drink it every day. So for health reasons. But let's hop right into this. So today we are talking about the curse of the capable. Why you keep attracting people who are draining you. And those of us who are considered the strong ones in our friend group or in our family, we kind of become like the default caretakers. So whether that's financially, mentally, and emotionally, or spiritually, where you have to hold space for people, and you're rarely the one that people checks up on, okay? So I know there's a lot of people out there who feel like that. And at first, it does feel like, I'm just loving my people, right? I'm loving those who I consider to be family and friends, and it feels like a connection. But over time, it starts to become heavy, okay? And you begin to realize that you never get to fall apart. You never get the chance to emote, right? When you go to people sometimes and you tell them your problems, they're like, oh, okay. And then they just hop right over it. And then they start talking about their problems, right? Uh, can you tell I know what you mean? Can you tell I know how you feel? And of course, there are people there. I'm hopefully, if you're like me, you have a handful of people that you can go to who actually give you space, listen to you, and coach you through situations, right? And if you have not met that community yet, then I am holding space for you to do that. You can most definitely find that in the Mystical Money Mastermind, where we're a group of high achievers and high earners that come together and stay in the field of possibilities and abundance and wealth. And we do that by supporting one another through our pitfalls and when we come up against walls, okay? But you begin to realize that it's not really a safe space for you to turn to. You can't go to certain people and say, hey, I know that I make all this money, or I know that I'm considered to be the successful one in our friend group or in our family, but right now I'm going through something and I need support. I know that I come across as the one that has it all together, that I always have the answers, that I'm always okay. But if I come to you and I say, this is what I'm going through, I need something a little bit more substantial than, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. Well, you'll be okay. You know, you never really get to rest. And this is not like a low blow to anybody who, if that's all they have is, oh, okay, well, I know you'll work it out, girl. I know you got it. That's not a low blow because sometimes when you are, this is me, uh, taking the other side of it, right? Because sometimes what happens is that when you are the strong one and you are the one that has it all together, or you appear to have it all together, and you always come out of whatever it is you're dealing with, and you come out stronger, more resilient, more beautiful, whatever, and you're in a better place. What happens is that people feel like they don't know what to say to you. Okay. So in defense of those people who don't have a lot to offer when you come to them, they may feel insecure about giving their advice because they may feel like I don't really know what to say to you because you always find the answer. Okay. So you never really get a chance to receive at the level that you give. That's really the true underlying issue here, right? Is that you are the giver, you're the one that everybody comes to, you're the caretaker. You're the one that people comes to for money, you're the one that people come to for advice and things of that nature. But at some level you feel like you're not getting what you're putting in. You're not actively participating in the giving and receiving cycle. So caretaking can burn people out. And I've seen this a lot in my practice with clients who have been taking care of a sick family member, or they take on the children of a sister or a brother who passed on, or a sister or a brother who's not capable of taking care of their children for whatever reason. And they're just tired, they're super exhausted. And sometimes it even feels like you begin to resent the people that you're taking care of, right? And then sometimes you feel invisible. I know I've been in situations where I'm like literally talking about it was at a time that my business was under attack and I thought I was going to lose everything, and I was literally having a conversation with someone about what's going on with me, and they got up and walked away, and I was just like, oh shit, like I've sat and listened to you for hours talk about whatever you're going through, and you know gave you advice and prayed and did whatever, and you just got up and walked away. And I had to come to an understanding within myself first, and I took responsibility and said, you know what, you always come across as though you have the answer. Now, that's not a punishment to me, but at the same time, I had to take responsibility for that because people will only treat you the way you allow them to treat you. Okay. So if I am always coming across as though I have it together, I have all the answers, and I never need anybody's help, then when I do come and I'm, saying, oh, I'm going through X, Y, and Z, and they get up and walk away, that's not necessarily all on them. Maybe at the time they just don't know what to say. They don't know how to hold space. They don't know how to give the advice. Okay. But definitely I'm not taking the blame off of them. I'm just saying when you start coming into a higher elevation of who you are, you start to understand the behaviors of people and why they behave the way they do. And then you also have to look at yourself. And I'm a very powerful force. So my energy does shift and influence other people's energy. Okay. And I know that that's a fact because of what I do for a living, and two, what is natural to me. Okay, what has been natural for me as a person my entire life. I've always been a person that people come to, even before I got into this field. I would be sitting on the bus and people would just start talking to me and telling me their entire life story. Okay, so some of you are the same way. All right, but you give and you give, and no one is truly ever giving back to you. So you have to move yourself out of that field, and you have to begin to pay attention to the people who are giving back. Because I guarantee you there are people who are giving back. I guarantee you most of the people that I have, my clients who are caretakers, or they undergo or they're dealing with caretaker fatigue, 9 times out of 10, and I'll say to them, okay, I want you to think of someone, anyone in your life that you haven't talked to them in a while, or when you do talk to them, they are there. They're able to be supportive. They're able to show up for you in a way that feels good, and you do feel like, oh my goodness, thank you so much for listening to me. And 9 times out of 10, there's at least one person that they can name. So a good way to help take you out of that feeling of, oh my God, I'm always so drained and people are always just coming for my help and my energy, and I'm always the supportive one, I'm always the strong one. I want you to stop for a moment and think about at least one person in your life that you can talk to who is always there, who always checks up on you, who always makes sure that you have everything you need. Okay. I have, thankfully, I can say I have plenty of people like that in my life now. But I'm going to tell you what I had to do. For the ones who I felt were not there, I had to say, listen, guys, there was a time where I was going through X, Y, and Z, and no one checked up on me except for my mama. And after I said that, you know what happened? Things shifted. Everything shifted. They were like, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. And now I'll just get text messages. Hey, honey, how you doing? Just checking in on you, you know? So sometimes opening your mouth is all you got to do. And you don't have to cuss everybody out in the room. I've done that too. I ain't perfect, y'all. I'm not perfect. Trust me, I ain't perfect. I did that a long time ago, but I have done that too. Okay. But in order for you to avoid having to go there, right? Having to, cuss everybody out, what you can do is you can simply just say, listen, I love being there for you, but right now I am going through something, and I feel like every time I'm going through something and I try to bring it up, you do not listen to me. You don't have any kinds of like words of encouragement. You don't check up on me. And I feel like every time you need something, I'm there for you. I cannot keep going like this, especially right now in my time of need when I'm physically tired. Okay. I feel emotionally and spiritually depleted. I can't be there for you right now, and I need you to be here for me. And if you can't, that's fine, but I need you to remember this moment when you are wanting to come to me for something next time. Okay. And a lot of the weight that you start to feel from burnout is not necessarily because you're tired or because you're emotionally and spiritually depleted. It's because you're surrounded by people who rely on you and you can't rely on them when you need support. That's the heaviness. That's the burnout. Like, how many times am I going to have to show up like this? Okay. And some of you are martyrs. Let's just keep it 1,000%. Some of you all are martyrs, okay? You show up, you save the day because there's something inside of you that needs to be fulfilled. There's a void that you're trying to fill. Let's just keep it a buck because sometimes that's what it is, right? Then you have to ask yourself, what am I trying to compensate for right now? Why am I always the savior? Why am I trying to swoop in and save the day? What am I trying to prove? Especially if they didn't ask you for anything, because that happens too, right? Somebody didn't even ask for help and you just keep swooping in and trying to help. Okay. You have to ask yourself, what am I trying to prove right now? They're just as capable as I am, and they didn't ask me for help. Okay. And if they do ask, and they're always asking, and you're always giving, then you have to ask yourself the same question. What inside of me is driving me to continue to show up for people who are not showing up for me or who could not even show up for me? Why do I feel the need to save? Could it be possibly that no one showed up for me when I was a child? Is that the thing that I am trying to compensate for? Am I really trying to save myself? Okay. So why do you keep attracting drainers? Why do you keep attracting drainers? Well, a lot of capable people, they often attract others who are looking for somebody to rescue them. And that ties right into what I just said before, right? Why would I attract somebody who needs to be rescued? And why am I always the one doing the rescuing? Is it because I needed to be rescued at a certain time in my life? Maybe as a child, maybe as a teen, maybe as a young adult, maybe as an adult, and no one came to my rescue, and I had to do it myself. So now since that wound hasn't healed, right? And let me tell you something, healing a wound is more than journaling, y'all, more than journaling. You can journal, that helps. That helps you to vent out the frustration. But how are you energetically transmuting the wound? Okay. So when we are attracting people who need to be rescued, right? Or need to be saved, usually in my experience working with clients over 10 years now, right? And working on myself and working with therapists and my hypnotherapists and counselors and coaches, right? For me, what I have learned is that usually we attract a mirror. Okay, we attract somebody into our lives who mirror back to us similar qualities, not always the exact same thing, but similar things that we need to adjust, that we need to look at within ourselves. Okay. So if you're always attracting drainers, people who need to be rescued, and you are the one doing the rescuing and you're the one feeling depleted afterwards, usually it is because you're compensating, you're overcompensating, right? Overconsumption, right? Overcompensating, overcoming. Remember that conversation we had a couple of weeks ago? Overcoming that part of you who needed to be rescued and no one came, and you ended up rescuing yourself. So that part of you still needs some healing. It doesn't mean you're a drainer. It doesn't mean that you are the one that's needy and needs to be rescued. No, sometimes it shows up in the opposite form. Okay. So when people are like, "Oh, with the new age thinking, I didn't attract, somebody to come in here and cheat on me and abuse me or XYZ, or use me or drain me. I didn't attract that. They're attracted to my light." Yes, that's true. But do not spiritual bypass. We have to stop doing that. Saying that somebody is attracted to your light, and that is the reason why you're attracting these kinds of people into your life, that's cool and everything. And I'm not saying that that's not the truth. But ultimately, what they're attracted to is the energy that's living inside of you that is a mirror, okay? That is a magnet pulling that energy in. And the reason why we pull that energy in is because our soul is calling for a shift. Our soul is trying to draw our awareness to the thing inside of us that needs to be adjusted. The subconscious mind is saying, oh, it's time for them to move through this program. It's time for them to recalibrate the nervous system. And it's time for them to move on to the other side from the known to the unknown. And the best way for you to do that is for you to have a mirror in front of you, okay? For somebody to come into your life and mirror back to you the thing that you need to release, the thing that you need to heal, the thing that you need to clear, because you are not able to become aware of that unless you are in a situation or relationship or in communication with another. We need each other in order to overcome these inner conflicts, okay? So when we don't have clear boundaries with ourselves, first and foremost, then we end up carrying relationships that feel one-sided or relationships that leave you feeling slighted. And you become the well while others just come and drink and drink and drink and drink. and drink and nobody's pouring back in. Okay. So if you notice a repeating pattern of attracting draining friendships, partners, co-workers, even family members, right? This might be the reason why. I like to use, do y'all remember Soul Food? Remember Terry, the character Terry on Soul Food? How everyone in the family just expected her to show up because she was the one that was the most successful. She was the one that had the most money. And what happened to her? The family, her husband. Okay. Okay. And everybody was not coming to her rescue and to her defense, you know? And why? Because she was always available. She always made herself that particular archetype in the family. Okay. Why did she do that? Well, I don't have enough background because she's a fictional character. But if I could guess using my, professional hat, if I could guess, it started in her childhood. Maybe she was the one who her parents, she had to watch the kids, because she was the oldest in the of the siblings, right? So she was the one that had to watch them. She had to make sure that they were okay. Okay. And so something about that kind of programming and that kind of training, right? Even if you're not the oldest, but maybe you're the most responsible, parents do set their children up to become caretakers, to become the ones that people come to and kind of just drain and drain and drain and drain and drain, and we allow them to do that. Okay. So let's talk about how do we break the curse of the capable? How do we do that? Again, you have to redirect your energy and your power, okay? And the first line of defense for anything is to protect your energy. And how do you do that? By you have to protect it by healing yourself. And instead of healing, because everybody's using the word healing, right? Everybody's a healer now. Everybody's a coach. Everybody's a therapist. Everybody is, ChatGPT is making everybody a professional coach and therapist and expert on the human behavior and expert on the subconscious mind and expert on, psychology and all of that. And I love it. I really do. I love it as long as people are, and this is a little side note here, okay? Y'all know how I go on tangents. Just let me cook for a second. I actually love it, okay? As long as people are doing the work, okay? It's one thing to be aware of your patterns, and it's one thing to do breath work and journal and meditate. But if you are not working with someone who is an alchemist who can show you how to alchemize that stuff that you're going through, all you're doing is putting band-aids on it, baby. You're just putting band-aids on it. That's really all you're doing. Okay. Because you don't have the tools to assist you with it. And ChatGPT is cool, right? It gives some decent advice, but it's not going to really give you what you need the way you would get it if you're working directly with a professional, someone who's been doing what they do for many, many, many years, and who does not, and you need to make sure you're working with somebody who shows results. You got people that speak on their behalf saying, yo, this person is the bomb. They did da 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 da. They helped me through X, Y, and Z. Okay. ChatGPT is not going to replace what the human heart and mind can do. ChatGPT cannot connect to your spirit team. Okay. Unless you give it that kind of authority. And if you're doing that, then that's a whole nother conversation and topic. But you can do that if you want to. I ain't giving ChatGPT no authority to tap into my spirit team. But I would say this, that you don't put all of your faith in a machine. Do not forget that people are what makes the world go round. And do not forget that answered prayer comes through individuals, it comes through humans. Okay. And y'all know I love AI. I'm a huge AI advocate, but it has to end at a certain point. Okay. So a lot of you, people on social media who are now posting a lot about, subconscious reprogramming and healing and all of this good stuff, and you're getting it straight from ChatGPT and you're literally just copying and pasting it. I need you to, make sure you are practicing these things and make sure that you are actually doing the inner work, because it's more than just journaling. It's more than just you taking some deep breaths and temporarily calming the nervous system, only for you to be triggered again and having to go right back and do it all over again. Okay. There are ways that you can actually completely alchemize whatever it is that you are dealing with and it not trigger you the same way. But you need to be working with an expert to do that. A machine can't do that for you, honey. And I've tried to do it on my own, and eventually I have to go see someone. Okay. There's certain things that I can do on my own because of the work that I've been doing, and I've been doing this for a long, long time. But even I have to go get help, okay, for certain things. That's just a little caveat. All right. So the way that you can break this curse of the capable, protecting your energy and setting boundaries. Okay. You cannot be afraid to set boundaries with the people that you love, the people who you are helping. You have to be able to say no. No is a full sentence. No, can't do that for you today. I'm so sorry. Or don't even put the sorry at the end. No, I'm not going to be able to do that. And I guarantee you, if you do that 10 times, eventually they're going to get the picture. And eventually, someone else will step up to help them, or they will begin to come into a space where they are allowing themselves to step up and help them. Okay. And make sure you're setting boundaries that honor your needs. If you feel tired and exhausted, or you really don't have the extra to give, whether that's money, energy, conversation, showing up, sometimes people expect you to show up to every event, right? It's okay to say, no, I'm not going to be able to show up to that. Okay. And then you need to ask yourself, who shows up for me? Who pours into me? Who is helping me carry the weight? Who's helping me carry the weight? And then get your rest. Okay. Get your rest. These are things that you can start implementing right now. But if you know you're dealing with a deeper set of issues that is causing you to show up in this way, then I highly recommend that you go and talk to someone, okay? Somebody who's going to ask you the right questions, someone who's going to help you get to the core root of exactly why you do what you do, because you got to understand why you do what you do in order for you to actually tackle it, okay? And overcome it and gain authority over it. All right? All right, y'all. So I hope that this has been helpful for you. And our the Sovereign Wealth Archetype quiz and ebook is almost done. I just put the final touches on it yesterday. So we are this close to releasing it. So if you are interested in learning about how your energy patterns influence your wealth and your relationships with money, okay, and yourself, then you definitely want to make sure you get on the mailing list, okay? There, you can go to bemagicschool.org. And right on the front of the page, it'll say join the mailing list. You just click right there. There should be a link somewhere. Yes, there should be a link somewhere in the video. Okay, I keep putting it in there and it doesn't show up, but I'll be sure to put it into the comments section after the video is uploaded. So make sure that you do that. And then also, for those of you who are ready to take a deeper dive, like you really, really are ready to break the cycles of any of the things that I've talked about, if you know that you are a high earner and you offload money very quickly, or you are experiencing caretaker burnout, if you are afraid that you're not going to have enough money, especially with, everything that's happening in the economy, and you are ready to feel at peace with your lifestyle, with the success that you have built, with the wealth that you have built, with the money and the income that's coming in, or if you're ready to expand it to exponentially increase your finances, then you need to book a call with me so we can have a chat to see what services and programs would be a best fit for you right now. Okay. So I thank you all for your time and your attention and your energy today. And I will see you next week on Wednesday, same time, same place. All right, y'all. If you've enjoyed this video, if you felt like it really helped you, go ahead, like it, give it a thumbs up, comment, share the video. It's important to get this information out to as many people as possible. And I will see you all next week. All right. Enjoy your weekend and the rest of your week. Bye.